This isn't just a PC build. This is my answer to Valve's upcoming Steam machine. I've put together a custom x86 rig that's fully SteamOS-ready. It can run Windows if you want it to, but from what I've been testing so far, it'll pretty much chew through anything that you throw at it with SteamOS installed. I also wanted to go relatively small form factor, and this isn't going to be the smallest PC on the market. It's definitely not going to come in the size or form factor that the upcoming Valve Steam machine in early 2026 is hitting. But we should be able to get much more performance out of something like this, given that it's not using mobile PC parts. Throughout the build, I will go over all the parts used, and we're going to start out here with the motherboard. And you might notice that what we've got here is actually a B860 board. So it's an Intel board, and most of the time when we're talking about SteamOS, we want to go AMD. But on the CPU side, it really doesn't matter. It comes down to that GPU. So what I've got here is the ROG Strix B860i gaming Wi-Fi. It'll support the newer Intel Core Ultra chips, and we're going to be going with a 14-core, 14-thread part, the Intel Core Ultra 245K. I personally haven't tested this on the channel, so it kind of gives me a chance to do so. And keep in mind, I mean, with this setup, you don't have to install SteamOS on it. It's also going to be fully compatible with other Linux variants, and of course, Windows. So we'll go ahead and drop that chip in. And again, we've got a 14-core, 14-thread part here. It's got 6 performance cores that'll boost up to 5.2 gigahertz and 8 efficiency cores that'll do up to 4.6. I don't think I'm going to need to do any overclocking, even though this is a K variant, but we could if we wanted to. When it comes to RAM, I'm going with 32 gigs of DDR5 at 6,000 megatransfers per second. This is a kit of Kingston Fury Beast RAM that I picked up long before RAM prices went absolutely insane. And to run my operating system and store all of my games, I've got a 2 terabyte Crucial M.2 SSD. Given the case that I'm using, I did need to get a compatible cooler, and I know for sure that this one works. This was their recommended. It's a Jonsbo CR1400. And originally, I was going to go with an AMD build, something a little less powerful. So hopefully this is enough for that 245K. I think it should be. It's got a single 90mm fan, and we've got 4 copper cooling pipes here. Now that I've got the motherboard all set up, it looks a little something like this. Now we're going to move over to the case, and this is one that I've had my eye on for quite some time. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on these Jonsbo cases. They offer a wide variety. This is something I see all the time over on Amazon, but during Black Friday, it was cheap enough for me to pick up. This is the NV12, and they also offer this in a white variant. I've always loved the look of this, but it does come with 2 RGB fans up front, and I really don't want RGB with this setup, but I bought the cooler and everything, so I'm just going to leave it on. I could always swap this out later on down the road. And up top here, it's got this single piece of tempered glass, which just folds around that whole case. I think it looks really good. Again, does come with those 2 RGB fans up front. Going with non-RGB would probably be the way to go for me. I'll also need to add at least 1 fan in the rear. So it'll take 2 90mm fans in the rear, and they need to be kind of thin depending on what kind of cooler you're using. But overall, I do like the way this whole case is set up. Lots of cable management underneath, and it does support a full-size ATX power supply. We'll go ahead and drop this right in. And the case itself does support up to a micro ATX, but I've got this mini ITX board, and that's what I'm going to be using for this setup here. You could save a little going micro ATX over mini ITX, but it's really up to you in the end. Power supply is mounted right under the motherboard inside of this case, and I went with something pretty simple. It's a Thermaltake Smart BX1 550 watt power supply. This is going to be more than enough for the setup I have here, but if you know you're going to be going with a larger GPU, which we do have kind of limited space in this, you might want to go with something a bit more powerful. I'll also need to add at least 1 fan in the rear just to get all of that heat exhausted out of it. I'm just going to go with a slim 90mm fan. And once this is all together, it's a pretty clean build, but we still need to add that GPU. I do like the cable management here underneath. Everything's really easy to get to. And originally, I wanted to go with something like the RX 9060 just to get a little more power out of it, but the only version I have is a little too long for this Jonsbo case. So I had to go with something a little lower end, but it's kind of right along the lines of what Valve is going to be putting in their upcoming Steam machine. Instead of a mobile variant of, let's say, the RX 7600, I've got the desktop variant of the RX 7600. This is the non-XT, so we've got 8 gigs of VRAM. It'll do up to 130 watts with SteamOS, single 8-pin power connector, and this is the XFX model. With this setup here, paired up with the 245K, we should see some great performance, and that 245K could definitely do a bit better with a more powerful GPU here, but I wanted this setup to be fully compatible with official SteamOS, so this is the setup that I'm going to be using, and I think we'll see some pretty decent performance. Got everything together, we'll go ahead and boot it up for the first time, and yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this RGB here, so I might swap this out later on down the road, and if anybody's interested in seeing how Windows performs on this, let me know in the comments below. But now, I'm going to go ahead and plug this into my game capture, and we'll take a look at everything. So I've been up and running with the system for a little while now, and so far everything's been working really well. I'm surprised because we've got Wi-Fi 7 here with this motherboard, relatively newer setup, and we do have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth working with the chipset used. And initially, when I booted this up, I did have access, or at least I could see the Intel iGPU with the CPU. So I actually went back and removed the RX 7600. I just wanted to see if we could run games with, Intel Arc right now. Does look like GameScope was still working, but unfortunately, as soon as I got into a game, everything went black screen on me. So we don't have full support there, at least with the, official version of SteamOS. And speaking of that, I do want to show you that we are official here. We'll go to our settings, system, SteamOS Hollow 3.9. And remember, we didn't go with a AMD CPU. We've got the Intel Core Ultra 5 245K. Up to 5.3 gigahertz with 14 cores, 14 threads. 32 gigs of RAM here running at 6,000 megatransfers per second. And of course, we've got that AMD Radeon RX 7600 with 8 gigs of DRAM. One thing I'm seeing here is up in the top left-hand corner when I have the performance overlay on, you can see right there with the GPU, we will get that full 130 watt power out of this RX 7600. So that's good to know that we can reach that full power out of this RX 7600. And I also installed CSS Loader. So from here, I've got a profile set up. Well, I got to find it. There it is. So I can make it look exactly how I want. And I do love the way this is set up, especially like on a bigger screen TV. Just makes it really easy to navigate. We're not going to be able to adjust the TDP directly from here, and the GPU clock is also not going to be available. If I bring this up to 1600, yeah, it's just going to go right back down. So everything's going to be handled from the BIOS, but this thing's performing really well, and I want to go ahead and jump into it. So we'll go ahead and start with Spider-Man 2. So far, pretty impressed with the performance that I'm seeing. We're at 1440p, very high with no FSR. And Spider-Man 2 is one of those games that is hit or miss with SteamOS. So, I mean, it can perform great one day, bad the next, depending on updates. And if you take a look up in the top left-hand corner, we've got the performance metrics going. This GPU is reaching 130 watts with this game. Adding some FSR would help out, but we're way over that 60 limit, and it's running perfectly fine. Next up, I've got Cyberpunk 2077 at 1440p with the Ultra preset, and Ultra does take that FSR to quality. I might want to go to balance because it does get kind of close with this 7600 like it is. We could also add some frame gen here, but I don't think we'll need it. And even at quality, if I just lock this down at 60, I'd be more than happy playing it like that. But we've got that frame rate unlocked, and it's performing pretty decently. Again, a little more FSR would help out a bit, but I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing so far. I also wanted to test out Marvel Rivals, so here we are at 1440p Ultra with FSR set to quality, and it does seem like this is one of those games that should just like run at 120 FPS on a setup like this, no problem at all. And we can make it do that by taking the settings down a bit, but I wanted to see what it would do at Ultra, and it's over 60, but it's never as much as I kind of expect out of a game like this. Checking out Elden Ring here, 1440p max, and we don't have FSR to worry about with this one. So we're at a full 1440p resolution, maximum game settings, and we're at 60. Had a feeling it would run really well like this. And yeah, you're going to get 60 all day with this. And, I test a lot of iGPUs on this channel. I usually have to drop this way down, but checking it out at 1440p max again just reminds me of how good this game does look. Here's The Witcher 3. We're at 1440p Ultra, no FSR. We're not using dynamic resolution scale, and NVIDIA Hairworks is completely off with this AMD card. It just doesn't do very well. It'll actually drop the FPS down into the 40s with Hairworks enabled on everything. But right now, Ultra with no FSR, so a true 1440p, we're over that 60 mark and the game feels great. And the final one I wanted to test here was Borderlands 4. This is one of those games that is just not great for SteamOS or Linux in general right now. I mean, even on Windows, everybody's been running into issues with this one. We're at 1440p high with FSR frame gen on. And even though we're seeing a pretty decent frame rate here, over 80 FPS on average with frame generation, there's still a lot of frame gen ghosting going on, especially on the sides of the screen. And this is something that I've seen quite a bit in SteamOS with this game. So overall, I think the whole setup turned out really nice for a SteamOS build. And again, if you're interested in seeing Windows running on this, let me know in the comments below. I could do without the RGB. It doesn't look absolutely horrible, but it would be nice just to have some blacked out fans in this thing. So I'll probably add those later on. Prices on parts are pretty expensive right now, but you can still find deals here and there. I will leave links to everything I used in this build in the description. And it'd be really cool if you could hit that like button or think about subscribing so you know when I post the next one. But that's it for this one. And like always, thanks for watching.